Now, there is a limit to how close they can get before I actually can't tell them apart anymore.
In terms of their assertion of an earth curve edge that gets in the way with a tangent point drawn to it to do the geometry to a claim. We've got blockages of boats, buildings, Isle of Man, whatever else they've claimed in the past. So that's the second argument. But there's also a third argument which has been thrown into the mix. We're now a month in and it's becoming more and more prevalent, which I'm really pleased about. So conspiracy cats, thanks to Flatsoid for trimming this out, because I don't watch this stuff, but if it wasn't for the people on my own side trimming it out and people like Anthony mirroring it, I wouldn't come across it myself personally. So I'm very grateful to people like Flatsoid and Anthony for doing that. Anyway, Flatsoid has released a video about cats describing the diffraction limit in the form of the Rayleigh criterion, something that is not included in earth curve maths. Now, the focus point for Flatsoid was to say, look, he's reversing the angle when he describes the limitation of the angle against the deck. He draws the angle back from the target. That's not right. Well, that's a correct and valid point, but no offence to Flatsoid, that's dealt with in a heartbeat. No, that's wrong. The angle goes this way from your eye to the target, not the other way around. However, he's conceding that things can disappear through this effect. Regardless of him saying, oh, it won't disappear from bottom up, though. You just lose it all. Okay. So there is another effect, coincidentally the very same thing we argued about for 3 straight years, called the diffraction limit. What's that? What's diffraction, Nathan? What, the thing I tried to bang into cats with him constantly fundy muting me on Anthony's channel? The diffraction limit. Yeah, that's correct. He's now talking about it. And it's not in earth curve mathematics. The only reason things disappear into the distance, regardless of whether or not he's obfuscating the fact that it's bottom up, they disappear because they're behind earth curve. And only because they are behind earth curve. That's what the calculator asserts. And 3 years ago we were saying, what about perspective? Things can disappear through an angular limitation. They reach and breach the diffraction limit. So how on earth has cats come to the conclusion that it's somehow beneficial to a globe earth argument that excludes perspective, and a coincidence, of course, 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet is where you'll see this diffraction limit. Oh, my bad. 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height is where you see earth curve, isn't it, in their maths? But he's talking about 1.2 over lambda. He's talking about the diffraction limit. Well, that's not in earth curve maths. So there are other reasons why things can disappear, and you can calculate them with the Rayleigh criterion. Not in your maths. Things don't get to disappear because they've got too small an angle. That simply doesn't happen. There is no angular account in earth curve maths. Everything stays the same feet and inches value. So well done, cats, for pushing it. I'm slightly aghast because I can't quite believe he's so stupid as to actually detail for a globe audience that things can absolutely disappear through some other effect other than earth curve. Because that's the only effect in your earth curve maths, friends. So thanks, cats. Yeah, the diffraction limit. Where's that in your begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking earth curve maths? It isn't.
This is where
Boy, what a position we're in. What a position we're in.
This is the point, Nathan, where you would give your illustration of the house brick from 10 feet, then 10 miles, and then stick some more bricks on top of it. And eventually you can see enough bricks to be able to resolve the thing that you're putting the bricks on top of.
Let's do that now.
Tony, that's why I wanted to say the same thing there, because I thought Katz's demonstration was brilliant. I'm watching it, I'm thinking, this is great, Flat Earth. So what's he doing? Until he gets to the end, convolutes it, and then makes basically that statement that because the boat's the boat, you can see as much of the top of the boat as much of the bottom of the boat, because it's all the boat. So it's just an angle to the boat. And then it went waffly and he reversed angles and the likes. But I was going to say the same thing to her. I think Katz needs the bricks explanation, because
and that's my favorite.
That's the bit he didn't comprehend.
I'll be the sacrificial lamb.
Perfect. If I take a brick and place it at let's just say 2 miles, just for quickness. Can you still see the brick at 2 miles if it's an 8-inch brick?
No, don't be ridiculous. You probably couldn't see that from, I don't know, 100 meters. We can't see the brick at a mile.
At 2 miles, it's definitely long gone, then you can't resolve it. It's too small, the angle's too limited, a la Cat's demonstration of the Rayleigh criterion and the diffraction limit that would be reached and breached at 2 miles. You would concede a brick at 2 miles, too small, 2C. Correct?
Yeah, it's the same reason why we can't see Paris from New York, Nathan, but I understand that because I'm a boring globe earther, so I understand that. So yeah, you're definitely not going to see a brick at 2 miles away.
What if I now pile on top of it a 10-story skyscraper? Or flats, whatever.
Yeah, I'll see that from 2 miles away, yeah.
And what about the brick at the bottom? Is the bottom brick still too small to see, or does it suddenly come back because you've built on top of it? So you still can't see the brick at the bottom of the tower. It's still too small to see. It's still in the most limited of angle. However, if you build on top of the brick, which is still in the limited angle at the deck, near the horizon, the stuff on top of it has a wider angle. You've increased the angle to the stuff on top of it, but the stuff at the bottom is still too small to see. Ergo, the building is now obstructed, according to their mathematics of Earth curve that's got in the way at this distance, to the tune of 8 inches per mile squared. No, there is a limitation to the brick at the bottom of the building, making it too small to see. But the rest of the building can still be seen because you've got a much wider angle to it. Likewise, in the boat example given by Katz, can you see the propeller of the boat? No. Why not? Oh, well, because it's under the water. Oh, so there's a limitation to our angle to the propeller because of the deck. The deck stops us seeing what's underneath that limitation. So we can't see the propellers. So our 0 line is going to be the deck. And from there you can work up and the angle gets wider and wider and wider towards the top. More and more limited towards the bottom, where the limitation of the deck starts. Towards the sky, no limitation on the flagpole, but a limitation that stops you seeing the propeller. Therefore your 0 angle is the deck, and where the most limited angle resides, causing diffraction at the most limited angle.
The thing is, Nathan, there is a bit of a problem here, though. How big is a brick?
I don't know, about 8 inches.
And over 2 miles, do you know how much curvature there is?
It's 8 inches per mile squared, Anthony.
Yeah, so there's 2.67 feet of geometric drop. So you wouldn't expect to see the brick at 2 miles when there's a 10-story building on top of it, because the brick would have gone behind the Earth curve, Nathan.
But I don't need the Earth curve to be an assumption in a begging the question fallacy when I make my example. If I say I do it on a runway, Anthony, if I stick it on a perfectly flat, perfectly level runway at 2 miles, can you resolve a brick? We're going to take Earth curve assumptions out of the equation.
Yeah, but the obstruction I'm seeing is caused by Earth curve.
No, it's caused by the calculable limitation of the angle, as described by conspiracy cats, calculable with the Rayleigh criterion, detailed by a fundamentalist religious globe-believing zealot. You can calculate its disappearance by way of its limited angle with the Rayleigh criterion. It's called the diffraction limit.
So would you agree that it's an equivocation if I was to calculate the obstruction and blame it on Earth curve?
That's why we call it the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. When you put the view in orthographic and have the side of your own head on the one side of the page and the target on the other side of the page and a straight tangent drawn to an Earth curve obstruction, the only assertion for its disappearance, bottom up or otherwise, is Earth curve getting in the way. Now, how do they remove all aspects of perspective? That would be angular limitations and the diffraction limit causing it to disappear. Well, they give it a feet and inches value that does not change with distance. So in calculating the limitation of the angle, detailed by conspiracy cats, you don't have those factored into your maths. You have one straight line and an Earth curve edge obstruction. Only an Earth curve edge obstruction. And the angles are ignored by way of feet and inches or meters attributions to the targets.
So what you're really saying is, because objects do get obscured from the bottom up in real life, that correlates with a mathematical model that allows us to make predictions that seem to match it based on the conditions at the time, gives us loads of wiggle room to give arguments about whether the Earth's curved or not. But actually, it's a total equivalence and it's correlative. And basically, it looks a little bit like Earth curve, but really it's something else altogether. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying one of the many myriad of things that you could detail for why an object in the distance disappears, either bottom up or otherwise. One of those factors is calculable with the Rayleigh criterion. One. Just one.
So it's just a correlation then, Nathan. It just appears to be Earth curve, but actually there are other things causing it.
It doesn't appear to be a begging the question assumption of an Earth curve obstruction at a geometric point that we've debunked. I don't know why you keep weaving in this begging the question fallacy when detailing something that our opponents, in this case Conspiracy Cats, has detailed concisely enough for any idiot on the globe side to understand his very clear and concise description that things can reach and breach a diffraction limit.
Tony, just to help you, Mr. Baller, Tony, if you go to Baller Ranty, there's a picture on screen I did for him a while ago that describes this. He even named it Panda Boat.
Well, let me just answer Nathan's question. He said, I don't know why you keep going to it. The point I'm trying to make is for those of us that realize that mathematics is an abstract correlation with the real world that you can describe with mathematics, right? But because it's correlative and it's abstract, it doesn't mean that's the reason for why we're seeing the things we're seeing. So I can calculate it as though it were a ball, and it seems to match the real world observation where the angular size limitation and the reduction in visibility and the blending in the diffusion. But if I calculate it as though it's a ball, you're going to think that the thing that I'm calculating means that we're on a ball.
Only if you think that the horizon is the beginning of that obstruction, which
Exactly.
is the book by Black Swan. Stop playing games.
Exactly.
There you go.
He's playing baller, Eli. But yeah, Eli said it, I've said it. Anthony will circle jerk 5 more times without taking the hint like Arwin does.